So today we're going to be looking at the Wano arc and seeing, is it really that good? Is it not good? Some of its worst moments. And we're going to be doing it in a way that I've never done before, at least in relation to Twitter. And that will be looking at, a certain thread that was made by someone who is actually no secret. Like if you're in One Piece Twitter, like you should know the name Soulstorm. And we'll be looking at his thread of the worst moments in Wano. And this is not going to be me really talking too much about his views because, again, there's only so much you can get from a Twitter post of someone's views. This is going to be me more looking at these, so-called worst moments and saying what I think about them. So it's going to be me reflecting on some of these moments. It's easier than me making specific videos that I don't know what will happen to them. If we need to make a more in-depth video about one of these specific topics, we can. Depends on how you guys feel about this video. But that being said, let's jump into it right now. And of course, before we do that, if you haven't yet subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for, because honestly, if you don't subscribe, that is the worst moment of the Wano arc. Like not subscribing to this channel. I have no idea. That arc drops to like, if there was a bottom list of worst arcs, Wano would be in there if you didn't subscribe. So if the buttons you read, do something about it. If you're worried about spoilers, I don't know yet, but I'll probably know the spoilers at the end of this video because I haven't seen all the all the tweets in here. So like I said, let's get into it. This guy's entire existence, Urashima. And I've got nothing. Like, honestly, I've got nothing to say because I didn't think Urashima was a problem. He was weaker than I thought. A lot of characters were weaker than we thought when we came into Wano. But I didn't have a problem with his existence. I mean, as a whole now, I just had a problem that he was weaker than I thought at the time. Further, being able to kidnap Tama and get away with it, unless you mean to tell me this guy's faster than Gear 2nd Luffy. Gear 2nd Luffy at this point, he's nothing to write home about when you come to a lot of characters in the New World. Yes, I know it's strong characters who've said that, but when you look at it as a whole, there are so many characters. Like, if you just remove, because this is just mainly about the speed of it all. If you just remove the haki aspect and, you talk about the speed aspect of Gear 2nd Luffy, it's not the most incredible thing in the grand scale of the New World. But I still understand this. And of course, this was not really about their abilities as a whole, Luffy versus Gazelleman, because obviously, there's no need to even talk about their abilities, it's a clap. But yeah, I think it's just Luffy's attitude. Like, if Luffy really felt like something was wrong, like, he would have done something. Like, I felt like Luffy didn't perceive these guys to be much of a threat. Okay, so here is just continuing, saying that, Luffy literally vanished. But, here he couldn't catch up to Gazelleman. Who knows? Maybe Gazelleman can vanish as well from the eye. We don't know how fast you need to be to vanish from someone's eye. But yeah, I get the sentiment. It's more of Luffy's attitude. Because here, Luffy was way more serious than he was before. And look, it was over. It was over. Yeah, so again, I think, because, I don't know. So, in black and white, this doesn't feel much of like a death as it does in color. I don't know, maybe it's the blood. But when I read this in the manga, it didn't feel like a death. I just felt like, oh, Tama is just lying somewhere out there. So I didn't feel like this was a death. And the anime, it doesn't seem like a death. I don't know, maybe I'm just dumb and I didn't understand it was supposed to be a fake out death, but it just didn't seem like it to me. So I can't criticize this because it didn't feel like a like a fake out. Yeah, so this is once again a Luffy moment, right? In which, like I say, I've said this for a while now, like the Yonko are kind of like main characters of their own story. They have that kind of plot armor-ness around them. And this is essentially a Luffy moment, 100%. Like literally carelessness is also what got Luffy drowned when he showed up on Wano and sucked into the whirlpool as well. So Luffy also got the plot armor to land on the beach. So this is exactly the same scenario. I don't take it any differently than I would how I felt about Luffy. Yes, it's weird, it's awkward. It invites speculation as to, Yonko by King. But, you take it in stride. I can definitely understand the issues here, but I take it in stride. I personally just take it in stride. So this didn't do much. It was just a bit awkward. Okay, so this amnesia plotline and all the fuss about it And for me, I'll say something like, I'll summarize my thoughts on it like this. The amnesia idea, the plot line, I understand why a lot of people don't like it, because it doesn't make sense. When you think about it, it doesn't make sense that Big Mom got amnesia, right? Yeah, maybe in real life, probably, yeah. But in the One Piece world, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. It really doesn't. But on the other hand, I think it's an artistic choice, because not when it comes to art, that's something I've learned. Not everything makes sense, but it's fine, as long as it fits what's going on. So an example is, sometimes you look at characters. Look at a lot of characters in anime and manga who have all these fancy get-ups, and look at the details of what they're wearing. Some of the things they're wearing make no sense. They straight up do not make sense. But artistically, it's fine because it fits everything else that they're wearing and everything else that's going on. And this is the same thing. The amnesia doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But based on everything Oda's built up on Big Mom and the way her character is, her getting amnesia, it fits. Does it make sense? No. But does it fit artistically? Yeah. So, yeah, I understand the problem, but it fits, so yeah. Like, this is the thing. Like, when you get too nitpicky about details and criticisms of the story, you're gonna find a lot of issues. So sometimes you just have to take things in stride, unless they're actual glaring issues, right? Otherwise, you just leave it. Yeah, the Napoleon one, I'm going to agree there that this is my first worst part of Wano. Napoleon should have been awake. That, my number one. I don't know if we'll keep a tally, but my number one. Hopefully I can remember the numbers. This is, again, artistic choice. Does it make sense? No. But given what we know about the big pirates, it fits. They're incompetent without a leader. In a one-on-one fight, they're dangerous as hell. In a situation where they have to think and put their brains together, not their best. So this one, I'm on the fence. I'll give it a half. As far as worst moments in Wano, I'll give it a half. So this one, I will say I understand if you have a problem with it. For me, this is not one of the worst moments. I will say that it all depends on how you know, what you wanted. If you want to see fights and, you didn't get the fights, yeah. But I think the implication was very clear across that the fight was equal until Yukimaru stepped in and decided that he's gonna be foolish. So for me, that came clearly across. So I don't really have an issue. Hyori being Komurasaki. So that one, yeah, I can understand. But I'll say it's an issue probably more for, more critical viewers, like a lot of people in the community. If you're just a casual One Piece reader or watcher, I'm guessing you'd be more like surprised. I'm guessing you'd be more like, huh, okay. It's not like, it won't be like one of those, wow, I never saw that coming. But it will be more like, huh, okay, it makes sense. Not, I kind of felt like that's where it was going, but even though I couldn't put my finger on it, I'm guessing that's what more of a casual viewer would have. They wouldn't really have a problem with it. But yeah, if you are not a casual viewer and you're more critical, yeah, this was super anticlimactic. It was just confirmation of like, yeah, thought so this whole time. Guess it is. And then Queen knocking out Big Mom. The method made sense to me. The method made sense. I didn't have an issue with that. The fact that, Queen got handled the first time and then came back the second time and tried again. Woo! Yeah. He barely managed the second time. And, Big Mom got back up and then she was down. So given the whole amnesia state and everything like that, Big Mom not really using her abilities to the fullest, because I assume that Big Mom wasn't using her defense to the fullest. So Queen straight up headbutting her with like everything he's got. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, Kid getting off screen. I know a lot of people wanted to see more on Kid. And yeah, I think we definitely could have gotten more on Kid. So I'm going to say another half there. We're going to get that to 2. We're at 2 now. No, there wasn't so much in Wano that we could have gotten on Kid that would have made us be like, oh, we understand Kid's story a lot more. Unless we got a flashback in Act 2 of Kid, which, I don't know. That's asking for quite a bit. But Kid's actual journey in Wano, like, unless we saw him awaken in Wano, my point is that there's just not too much that I think has happened to Kid in Wano itself. I think a lot of has happened to Kid before he got to Wano. So I don't really have much complaints of not seeing much of Kid in Wano because I don't know what we would have gotten specifically. So it's a half for me. I would have liked to see more of Kid. It seemed like we were going to see more of Kid, but we didn't. So it's a half. These guys were seemingly important, but they were not in the end. Okay, so I say yeah, as in they were kind of useless, but they made Wano feel alive. Like, this is the whole thing that makes Oda take so much time in the new world, is that he does way more world building. And so in doing so, you have to introduce a whole bunch of characters. Whether they shape up to be anything at all, you have to build a whole bunch of characters. Now, you can argue as to how much time Oda spends doing that. That's definitely up for debate, but he has to if he's going to do world building. Okay, so this one, I think this is where I stopped, but Law's fake out. No, this fake out, for me, this wasn't even a fake out because I didn't expect Hawkins to die. Hawkins is a supernova. This guy is not gonna just die. But also, Law, in my mind, Law had no reason to kill this guy at the same time. Because whether Law kills him or not, the fact of the matter is that someone at some point is gonna realize that Law's not in the prison. And Kaido already knows Law's in Wano. Law and Luffy are in Wano. So it didn't, as from an overall perspective, it wouldn't make much difference whether Hawkins was alive or not. Because it's not like he gained much out of Law. Like, there's not secret information about the Fire Festival that Law told Hawkins that Hawkins then told later on. Right? So killing Hawkins wouldn't have stopped the fact that they already know these guys are here. Not killing Hawkins wouldn't have done anything either, right? And in the end, it's not like Hawkins was a thorn in Law's side. He was a thorn in Killer and Kid's side, as well as Drake. So in the end, Hawkins didn't affect Law. So so it's all up to really, if it made no difference, why didn't Law kill him anyway? He's a doctor. And he's now become more of a main character, so killing them becomes weird. I don't think this was an issue. Like, this is all part of the world building, introducing the many characters and the threads and all these things. Especially after we got that stuff of, 2 years ago, it would have taken all of us, and now Luffy can just one-shot it. And it's not like he spent so much time on the numbers. It was like literally one double spread at the end of a chapter, and that was it. Alright, so we'll come back to this one, because this one's an issue I'll probably talk about at the end. We'll put a pin in it. Did Otsuru die? I mean, not as far as I know. There some stuff with Kinemon's wife, but I don't think she died. Am I wrong? I never got the impression that she died. I just got the impression that she's MIA. So, the issue with Toki's character is that I think a lot of people expected to get more out of her, especially considering the lore and, a lot of stuff in the history of One Piece. But I think that, expecting things in a certain way and not getting it in the way that you expected is not a reason to criticize a series. At least not for me. I'm not going to criticize it because it didn't come the way I expected it to come. It was a bit of an awkward thing, I won't lie. But I don't think it was that bad, especially because what kind of message would Marco have for Luffy? It's not like Luffy and Marco had in-depth conversations. Maybe I'm not a pineapple. Actually, we'll give it a half. A half. I wanted to see that. So, yeah. I'll give it a half. Okay, so clowning Big Mom. Clowning Big Mom is also not an issue for me. Like, Big Mom is like, again, she's like Luffy. Like, Luffy also, like, if Luffy was a veteran character, we'd also be talking about how Luffy gets clowned on all the time. Gazelle Man falling into the water when he got to Wano, eating a fish and almost dying when he got to Whole Cake Island. Like, if you think about it, Luffy also gets clowned on, despite where, all the other characters who are similar in strength to him, right? If you look at all, like, the commanders and, admirals and all these things, Luffy should not be getting clowned on the way he does. But when it happens with Luffy, it seems more like lighthearted, but it's the same feel. But yeah, when we saw Rooftop, when we're seeing her with Kid and Law now, when it gets serious, just like with Luffy, the clowning stops. But when it's not serious, just like Luffy, Oda clowns them. It's part of their characters. They're not For different reasons, of course. But they're not that careful with their surroundings. It's just the way the two of them are. Right? So for me, I don't have a problem with it because it's just the way they are. But if you have a problem with it, yeah, I could see how you could have a problem with it. So the off-screen jukes, that's an issue. Not entirely for me. I think that having the jukes, you know, have their Sulong form off-screened and their Revenge on Jack off-screened is not an issue. I mean, first of all, let's talk about Revenge on Jack. Revenge on Jack is not an issue for me because with Jack was meant to be like not even a major part of like this whole saga. It's all been about Kaido, right? Because yes, when we've met them, it was about Jack, but then we found out that they're scabbards and really they've been trying to get back at Kaido for 20 years. So getting back at Jack for something so recent compared to Kaido, one has to clearly take, you know, precedence over the other. So yeah, I don't have the Jack revenge kind of, for me, even before the fight, it already lost its relevance the moment we found out that there were scabbards and they'd been in this whole 20-year journey. Yeah, and then we get to the Ice Oni. Ice Oni, let's go through these quickly. Ice Oni wasn't an issue for me because, so the Ice Oni, it did a lot. Like, it did quite a bit because, one, it reduced the numbers on, like, both sides. Secondly, it did bring some moments in helping Chopper to shine. Yes, you know, people prefer characters shine in fights and actually, you know, feats of power. But, you know, having Chopper be the lead on this, despite having doctors like Law and Marco on Onigashima, in itself, that is great. That is great for the character, right? To show what they're actually capable of. Because yes, maybe Chopper didn't actually grow as a doctor. You could say he did, you could say he didn't. I'm not against either. But at the very least, it showed what Chopper is capable of, which is what we wanted from the Straw Hats all this time. Right, to show what they're capable of at the very least, if not grow from where they are to a new level. And this did that for Chopper, so I think it was great for that reason alone. And then also it helped Oda set up a whole lot of other moving pieces. It makes sense why the Ice Oni wasn't that strong, as strong as maybe it should have been, because, you know, Queen was still underestimating these guys. Like, for the longest time, they didn't take these guys seriously. Luffy showed up on the island, and Kaido didn't bat an eye. You know, they're like, this kid, Luffy, Zoro, and Killer, and Kaido's like, okay. And he went back to partying. Like, that was it. So, it not being that strong, it's okay. So, Kaido not killing characters, he made the mistake once, right? And that was with Luffy. He didn't really make that mistake with anyone because he didn't have the opportunity to. When he wanted to kill the scabbards, the supernova showed up. When he wanted to kill the supernova, they ran away. When he wanted to kill Luffy, he was too in the zone and he smacked the guy off the roof, right? So it was one mistake, arguably, with Luffy, but the guy never actually, as far as the Fire Festival, there's no actual missed opportunity that I see that Kaido had that he just didn't take. I think the numbers game actually did matter. It mattered not for us as viewers, but for the Navy, right? To really get an accurate response of how these guys feel about the situation, and the fact that they're making decisions based on the numbers, right? They've sent the Navy based on the fact that the numbers have changed, based off the way that the fight is going, right? So it's adding logic behind the decisions the world government and the Navy are making. So it's not like this is for us as viewers. I mean, for us, it's just to keep track of what's going on, to keep track of the fight. Carrot and Wanda, we're waiting to see from this. Again, as a viewer, it seems like more should come of this. So we're in a waiting period to see what happens here. Because what may happen with, again, like similar to the Usopp and Nami, what happens later on may be more important than actually seeing the fight. We get what happened and we understand how it went. But who knows? We're waiting to see. If nothing happens, nothing comes of this, yeah, we should have seen this fight. But we're waiting to see how it turns out. The Hyogoro thing, I'm gonna give him a point. Like, I think we're at 4 now. 3? 3. I think we're at 3. Or 3.5. I'm not sure anymore. But we're somewhere there, and I'm gonna give him a point. The Hyogoro, it did not need to take that long. Because yes, Now, Hyogoro was one of the characters who may have died. That was actually hotly debated. He may have died, but it did not need to be like that. Now, the quality of the Tobiropo fights is something that I feel like is subjective, especially for page 1 and ulti. It's very subjective how you view it. Especially if you're banking on one-on-one fights, I was not banking on that from the start. Nami could never do it. But the problem is that there's such a huge gap between the Tobiropo and the headliners that a headliner would not even be satisfying, right? A regular headliner would be nothing. Even for Nami, right? It would not be that satisfying. So you have this headliner who's not satisfying, Tobiropo who's too much to handle. There's no good way this ends. There's just no good way it ends. So yeah, for both Usopp and Nami, it was always going to be less about having a whole interactive fight back and forth, and more about something specifically happening to give them the edge to win. That was always what it was going to be about. If you thought otherwise, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The back and forth, I understand it, between Kanjuro and Kiku and Kinemon. I completely understand that. I'm not even going to. I understand it. I'm going to give another point there. It was too confusing with how many times it was done. If it was done once, yeah. Like this many times, too annoying. So I'm going to give it another point. This one seems to be a bit more... I'll count it in the power creep thing, which is like, this seems to be a power creep in which characters are unlocking abilities and getting stronger, and it's not being fully explained. But this one, I feel like you could explain away. You could explain away in the fact that, Momo's been unlocking this ability. So it's kind of like they're feeding off each other's energy. It's like resonance or something like that. I don't know. So I didn't draw too much of an issue with Luffy using this. Because it's like, even if like Luffy could be using this subconsciously, it's not like something that Luffy can just use. Because even, earlier in the arc, like Luffy didn't just be like, do this thing, right? Or there was never a moment where Momo is like, wait, I need to tell Luffy not to kill Kaido. Then he tells him, right? Like both of them don't seem to know very well how to use this. And Luffy seems to be guessing at it in extreme situations way more than Momo does. So I don't have too much of an issue with that. I think ulti actually coming back, even if it was to see Nami beat her, was great because it just gave more credit to ulti. The fact that ulti could keep coming back. I personally love that. The fact that ulti didn't just stay down. Like ulti was there. She kept coming back. She kept dodging. No matter what Nami and Usopp did to her, they could not do anything. And even at the end when they beat her, they're like, thank goodness Big Mom did what she did, because that put her on her last legs. Before Big Mom did what she did, ulti didn't seem to be near her last legs. You can either be upset with the Nami fight on this, or you can be happy for the Tobiropo presentation. So it's what you choose. And again, I wasn't too big on a one-on-one fight involving Nami and the Tobiropo because I knew Nami couldn't hack it. Tobiropo fighting off screen at the beginning, that's fine. Like we don't need to see the start to end of every single fight, right? Especially if we're going to imply that the fights lasted a while. Don't need to see the end, beginning and end. So this is a good point. I'm going to assume a reason why it's not. Of course, we'll understand. You can argue better after the whole battle's over, but the thing about this drug is, one, who is willing to use that? Who is in a situation that they need to? Apart from Luffy when he fell off the roof. And in that situation, you can't really give him because he's fallen off the roof. And no one really knew about that. Who else would you give apart from Zoro who needs it? And would they want it is the question. Now, again, it would be interesting to explore, them trying to offer people and say, here you go. And someone saying, no. Who actually needs this? Apart from Luffy, Kid, and Law. Oh my days. So the Momo becoming a large dragon. Guys, if you want us to talk about any more of these even more, let me know. But Momo becoming a large dragon, I think there is potentially more. Like, this is why, for me, leaving Momo like this in Wano, no. It's just no. No. We need, like, Momo's character is... I feel like ending Momo's character in this arc like this, I am going to add 5 points. Really quickly to the 5 point. I don't know where I was at. I think we're going to go from, like, 4 or 5 to, like, 10 immediately. Because leaving him like this, yeah, that's not a great decision. At least I don't think so. I wouldn't enjoy that. Let me say, I would not enjoy that. So, getting more from Momo, especially after this, as this is part of Momo's journey and character arc in the One Piece story, yeah, that makes more sense for me. But to just leave Momo here and be like, maybe we'll visit him towards the end of the One Piece story, no. So yeah, last is just Sanji versus Queen, and yes, that was kind of anticlimactic because it didn't feel like Queen gave it his all. I think that for me was the craziest part of that fight and why I didn't believe it was even over, because it didn't feel like Queen was at his strongest. It just felt like Queen kept on showing us little gadgets and he was gonna... I'm not even talking about Queen awakening or having a final form. It's just Queen doing something to be like, this is me at my strongest, or this is my strongest technique. You'd assume Queen has something like that, but we didn't see it, and that makes me... This is why, like, if this ends here, then yeah, I will... If we don't see much of Queen anymore, we don't get anything else on Queen, yeah, I will fully count this. So there's one that I said I'd come back to, but I kind of did forget because of how long it took me to get through all of them. And he says, you know, guess what? Literally nothing after all the time we waited speculating about what happened. And for me, I guess that's a part of being in the community, which is, I guess, a detriment, is that sometimes in the community, we build each other up and we hype each other. We tell each other our interesting thoughts, and it hypes us for something which is probably not even going to happen, right? This is one example, right? He even says here, we've speculated as to what happened, right? So he didn't even say that Oda built up what happened, right? So it's the speculation that then let them down. So it's just one of those things of being in the community where you have to watch out what you're speculating and hyping yourselves up for, whether it's something that's just totally fan based or whether it's something that's been built up in the story. But anyway, guys, tell me what you think. All these criticisms, all these thoughts, leave them down, comment section below. We'll talk about them. We'll probably have to make videos about some of these because they've just been so much to deal with because there've been so many. But anyway, this thread was much longer than I thought. Have a good day, guys. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. This is King KZ, and I'm out.